Welcome to A Mind for Life. We are back today and we are on the second logic video. We're going to call it Logic 2. All right, so let's just jump right into this. Let me say this first, as I always do. A Mind for Life is a channel. It's a vision offering philosophical, spiritual technology so that you can live your truth. That's the purpose of A Mind for Life. It's not here giving you the answers. There are no gurus here. You unfold from within and you will find out that the answers have been there all along. Okay, so let's get right into Logic 2. Now, I would strongly suggest that you go back and you watch the first Logic video. Okay, it will give you background and maybe the video before that as well on emotion, because all of this builds. Okay, so Logic 2. Now, we ended the last video talking about induction and deduction. I'm not going to review that. You can see that in the other video. Now, induction had an issue with it, if you remember. Now, let me give you this inductive argument once again. For example, here's a good one. And this is the one actually we used in the previous video. Every cat that I've seen is blue. There's a cat outside my window, so that cat's probably blue. Okay? Every cat that I've seen is blue. There's a cat outside my window, so that cat is probably blue. All right? Induction. Here's the issue. Every cat that I've seen is blue. There's a cat outside of my window, therefore that cat is blue. Now, I said there was a problem with that, and the problem is this. You are mistaking your induction for deduction. In other words, you're reading law into your experience. You're reading law into something that could be or could not be. And remember that we said these deductive arguments or statements are based on a priori. They are black and white. They are necessarily true. 2 plus 2 is 4. If John has 2 cats and I give John 2 more cats, therefore John has now 4 cats. That's a priori, okay? 2 plus 2 is 4. Not dependent upon experience, okay? So when you make a statement and you're saying it's inductive, but you're saying it in a deductive way, you're going to cause suffering for yourself and maybe other people. In other words, let's look at this. Every person I've seen who wears a red shirt acts like this. They act crazy. So now you say, okay, you've practiced this. Every person you see that person with a red shirt, oh yeah, they're crazy. You go on and on. So therefore, in your mind, you have come into an agreement with those thoughts, which are your beliefs, and you casted it on experience, which it becomes your perspective. So now you, instead of saying in your mind, this is my experience, this is what I've seen, I'm not quite sure if it'll always be true. No, you're saying that it's just the way it is. And so every person you see with the red shirt, you're looking for them to be crazy. You're going to find something about them that is crazy to validate your belief system, which is based on knowledge. And remember, your knowledge is based on thoughts that you have repeated over and over again. So this becomes a suffering for you. This becomes maybe even a suffering for other people. We can look at through history and even modern day about how many stereotypes or ideas have been placed upon situations, etc., that aren't absolutely true, but they're behaved towards as if they're absolutely true. Now, here is where I told you we was going to talk about this. There's a British empiricist philosopher, I think it was 1739, wrote a book called Treatise on Human Nature, David Hume. So he saw this problem too. There were, and I'm not here to talk about philosophers, but I want to bridge this into something else. He talked about your impressions and your ideas. Your impressions are your direct experience. Your ideas are your reflections or your mentalizing about what that direct experience is, that those impressions are. Now, he had 2 ideas. One was demonstrative statements and the other were probable statements. Okay, demonstrative are a priori, like we said. Now, probable statements were not inductive statements in his view. Probable statements needed verification, needed to be validated by experiment. Now, there is an issue that comes up because there are certain statements that are made that are inductive. They're not probable. Okay, so if I say, for example, the sun is going to rise tomorrow, that's not a probable statement. I can't go validate that because it hasn't happened. What I'm saying is an inductive statement. I'm making an inference based on past patterns like we talked about before. Now, oftentimes, and here is where this one went into what I'm saying. We're taking our inductive statements and making it law. In other words, the sun is going to rise tomorrow. You know you don't know that if you were to, again, parrot that idea. Oh, of course I don't know if the sun is going to rise tomorrow. But you really do believe it. You really do know that the sun is going to rise tomorrow. But you say you don't know, but you know. This applies to so many circumstances in our lives. Now, here is where this got covered or finessed a bit, in my opinion. Belief and custom. So we're just reading belief. We're reading our beliefs and our customs into our statements and our logic, and we're calling it law. Okay, that was the way out of that. Belief and custom. Now, here is where I am today. Belief and custom is no justification for faulty logic. How many beliefs and customs have went on and have been off, have been wrong? Beliefs and customs about the world, beliefs and customs about an individual person, a scientific theory, a group of people, a practice towards a group of people, a practice towards the earth that have been wrong. That it was custom and it was belief. So belief and custom does not liberate us. And on this channel, we're talking about freedom. We're talking about personal transformation and liberation. So how is it that we can get out of this? How can we get out of this conundrum? Or let me call it this, Wallace's cubic. Okay, let me just call it that. And what that means is this. We suffer because we're confusing induction and deduction. And we're also kept in a box. We're kept in this cycle. Okay, because what happens is this. We have this knowledge that our thoughts that we've repeated. We come into agreement with that, yes, this way. Then we go out into the world and we apply that belief onto experience, and that becomes our perspective. Now, the problem is this, and this is the cube that many of us, and even myself, we're dealing with sometimes. We have the same situations in the same faces, just different places. That cycle keeps repeating, doesn't it? You keep being around those people. You keep being, in that same situation. You keep being in those situations, in those places over and over again. Why is that? Is there someone against you? Is there a conspiracy? I'm going to say no. I'm going to see you are in a cycle. You're in a cube. A cubic is the sensibility for the cube. That's the way I'm using it. Now, how does this, what do you mean by this? When we're in this cycle and these things keep repeating, especially the things that we don't want, we're not getting a breakthrough. Okay, which means that our knowledge base is not changing. What we know is keep being recycled through our beliefs and our perspectives. This is the reason why we keep having the same experiences type of experience over and over again. We never break out of the experience. We never break out. We keep going through those same types of situations over and over again. It's because we have come into agreement with the knowledge and we have applied it to experience, and we're taking that as law. We don't realize this though, and this is what I was saying before. You don't realize, I may not, even me, not even realize, and I'm making this video, that I am in the same cycle over and over, in the same cube, doing the same things over and over again. Because I'm applying a belief that comes from a knowledge base that's not serving me. But how? I just don't know it. I'm too close to myself. And I'm wondering, why are these situations happening over and over again? It's because the knowledge base is the same. Even though I may go to a different place, I may deal with different people, I'm still getting that same outcome because I practice thoughts so much along the lines of the results I'm getting. And I've come into agreement with those, and I've projected that out over and over again. And at the core of that, at the core of it, I'm making this mistake. I'm saying something that is absolutely true that's not. And I believe it, and I don't know that I believe it. So you may say, okay, how can I know if I believe this or not? And it was said in the last two videos, emotion reveals. Emotion reveals. Emotion reveals. Okay, and this is how we know that revelation happens on the knowledge that we have, and we have a breakthrough. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to be talking about neologic. Okay, this is where all of this is going. I had to set it up, but we're going to be going into neologic. How does Neo, make things any better, or how is it a breakthrough? In my opinion, that old logic was the mentalizing. Had no emotion involved in it. Mentalizing, had no emotion involved. Emotion was seen as a negative thing when it came to logic. But listen to this, mentalizing and being in a viscerality of emotion are two sides of the same coin. Okay? So neologic creates a harmony, and this is the new logic. All right? So in short, what I pointed out in this video was this problem of induction, mistaking your inductive for deductive, calling it law, bringing in the customs and the beliefs of the times and where we are to reinforce that, which causes a problem. We get stuck in a cube, okay? We get stuck in a cube where we aren't growing, we aren't changing. The life really isn't changing at all, okay? And that's because the knowledge base hasn't changed. The thoughts we've practiced haven't changed, and we don't know this because we're too close to ourselves 24/7. All right. So we're busy going into life, applying this mismatch, and we're looking for reasons to justify it. So even if it isn't like that, we see it as that. And I talked about that a few minutes ago. Okay. So we went into the whole problem of it. And the way to get out of this, as I said, was emotion. And this leads us into neologic, which is the new logic for this new era. New way of being, heart and mind. See, we're mentalizing here, we're emotion here, but where's the heart? The heart, as I said before, in the other series I made, is the biggest mind you have is the heart. Okay, so neologic involves the heart, not just the mentalizing. We don't know anything. We're locked in our mentalizing. Or we're going to the flow of our emotions. We're being motivated or moved by our emotions. So what's the answer? The answer is neologic, and I'll get to that in the next video, okay? All right, thank you for coming to A Mind for Life. Peace out.